Hey everyone, welcome to lesson 3.6. This is actually our last lesson of our third unit, and we're going to take a look at factoring special polynomials. So we took a look at simple trinomials and factoring complex trinomials, but there are also two specific examples that I want to show you, because if we can recognize them, the factoring is it's pretty easy. So the first one I want to take a look at is the perfect square trinomial. So a perfect square trinomial is the result of squaring a binomial. So let's zoom in here. Let's say I have a plus b squared. If I expand that out, I'm going to get a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. And if I have a minus b squared and I expand that, I'll get a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So when we're factoring, remember we're going from the expanded form back to a factored form. We're going that way, okay? So what's the pattern to look for? Well, first you're going to see if the first term is a perfect square. All right, so can you square root that one? Easy. We want to also check if the last term is a perfect square. So those two things have to be true. The last thing that has to be true is that the middle term is 2 times the product of the square roots. So what does that look like? It has to be, so the middle term has to be equal to 2 times the square root of the first term times the square root of the last term, A and C, whatever they are. So let's take a look at an example. If I take a look at this first example, x squared plus 6x plus 9, my first step is to check, do I see right away that the first term and the last term are perfectly square numbers? So can I take the square root of x squared? Yes, I can. Can you take the square root of 9? Yes. So we want to lastly check, is this middle term equal to 2 times the square root of the a times the square root of the c? And if it is, then we have a perfect square trinomial. So in this case, 2 times the square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 9 is 3, and so that equals 6x. And so yes, the middle term is equal to 2 times the square root of a times the square root of c. So now that we know that, the factored form is just simply x plus 3 times x plus 3, or you can simply write it as x plus 3 squared. Okay? The plus sign in the middle here also comes from the plus sign in front of the b. So again, let's check this one. Is a perfect square? Is c a perfect square? Well, yes, I can take the square root of 4x squared, and I can take the square root of 9. Then we want to check, what is the coefficient of the b term? What should it be? Well, it should be 2 times the square root of a times the square root of c. And in this case, this is 2 times square root of 4 is 2, square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 9 is 3. So if we multiply this out, we'll have 4x times 3, we get 12x. So again, this checks out because this matches the middle term. Now that we know that, we simply write our x, square root of our first term, which is going to be 2x, and then plus, because we have a plus over here, and the square root of the last term is 3 and squared. And that's it. We'll do a few more examples. Can I take the square root of x squared? Yes. Can I take the square root of 36? Yes. Now, does this middle term equal 2 times the square root of a times the square root of c? Square root of a is x, and the square root of the 36 is 6. So this gives me 12x. So yes, it checks out. Then once we know that, we take the square root of a, which is x, and we take the square root of 36, which is 6. We take the sign from the middle term, which is positive, and we square it. And that's it. So we have another one here. We have 16x squared is the first term. Can I take the square root of that? Yes, 16 is a perfect square number. 25, also a perfect square number. So now let's check to see if this middle term is equal to 2 times the square root of a times the square root of c. So 2 times square root of a is going to be 4x. Square root of c is going to be 5. So I will have 40x. So that checks out. And now that it works out, then we write our square root of 16x squared, which will be 4x. And we take the sign from the middle term, which is a negative. And then we take the square root of our last term, which is 5. And we square that. So one more time. Can I take the square root of x squared? Yes. Can I take the square root of 100? Yes. So I need to check, does the middle term, negative 20x, match up with 2 times the square root of a times the square root of c? Well, 2 times square root of x squared is x. Square root of 100 is 10. So yes, we get 20x, and that checks out. So when we go over and we write our factored form, we take the square root of x squared, which is x. We take the sign from the middle term, which is negative, and we take the square root of the last term, which is 10, and we square it. All right, the last special case that we'll look at is something called a difference of squares. This one is usually pretty easy to point out because really a difference of squares is a binomial. So it's 2 terms. It's the result of multiplying 2 smaller binomials that only differ by the sign between them. So if I'm taking a look at factoring something like ax squared plus bx, so it's a binomial, and then there is a minus in between, then the factored form is going to be a plus b, a minus b. And notice the opposite signs here and here. So we want to recognize, is the first term a perfect square? Is the second term a perfect square? And is the middle a minus sign? If that all checks out, then here's the factored form. X plus 5, x minus 5. So let's take a look at b. Is x squared a perfect square? Yes. And is 36 a perfect square? It is also a perfect square. Are they separated by a minus? Yes, they are. So I take the square root of x squared, which is x, and the square root of 36, which is 6. And I have one bracket that's positive and one bracket that's negative. And that's it. Let's just pull out one more example. So is x squared a perfect square? Yes. Is 4y squared a perfect square? Yes. Is it separated by a minus sign? Yes. So then my brackets, or my factored form, one is going to be positive, one is going to be negative. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 4y squared is 2y. And there's our factored form. All right, there you go, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.